Fractions are fun. They are like puzzles, but with numbers. A fraction shows us a part of a whole thing. Imagine a delicious pizza cut into equal slices. Each slice represents a fraction of the whole pizza. Fractions help us understand and work with parts of things. We use them every day. They are useful for measuring ingredients in recipes. They help us divide things equally among friends. Fractions are our friends. Let's learn more about them. Every fraction has two main parts, a numerator and a denominator. These two components are essential in understanding how fractions work and how they represent parts of a whole. Without them, we wouldn't be able to accurately describe portions or segments of anything, whether it's a pizza, a pie, or any other divisible item. They work together to tell us about the fraction. The numerator and denominator are like partners in a dance, each playing a crucial role in conveying the meaning of the fraction. The numerator gives us a count of the parts we are interested in, while the denominator provides the context by telling us how many equal parts the whole is divided into. The numerator sits on top of the fraction line. This top number is our focus point, indicating the specific number of parts we are considering out of the whole. For instance, if we have a fraction like 3/8, the numerator is 3, which tells us we are looking at 3 parts. It tells us how many parts we are focusing on. This is crucial when we want to understand or communicate how much of something we have or need. Whether it's 3 slices of pizza or 3 pieces of a pie, the numerator is our guide. The denominator sits below the fraction line. This bottom number is equally important as it tells us the total number of equal parts the whole is divided into. In our example of 3/8, the denominator is 8, indicating that the whole is divided into 8 equal parts. It tells us the total number of equal parts the whole is divided into. This helps us understand the size of each part in relation to the whole. Without the denominator, we wouldn't know how many parts make up the entire item, making it impossible to gauge the size of each part. For example, think about that pizza again. Imagine you have a whole pizza in front of you, and you decide to cut it into equal slices. The way you cut the pizza and the number of slices you make will determine the denominator of the fraction. If the pizza is cut into 8 equal slices and you eat 3 slices, you've eaten 3/8 of the pizza. This means that out of the 8 equal parts, you have consumed 3. The fraction 3/8 gives a clear picture of how much of the pizza is gone. We write this as the fraction 3/8. This notation helps us quickly and easily communicate the portion of the pizza that has been eaten. It's a universal way to express parts of a whole. The 3 numerator tells us how many slices you ate. This is the part of the fraction that focuses on the specific quantity of slices consumed. The 8 denominator tells us the total number of slices in the whole pizza. This part of the fraction provides the context, letting us know that the pizza was divided into 8 equal parts, making it clear how much each slice represents in relation to the whole. Just like there are different types of pizzas, each with its own unique flavor and toppings, there are different types of fractions, each serving a unique purpose in mathematics. Let's dive into the world of fractions and learn about some of the most common types. First, we have proper fractions. In a proper fraction, the numerator, which is the top number, is smaller than the denominator, the bottom number. For example, 2/5 is a proper fraction. This means you have 2 parts out of a total of 5 parts. It represents 2 parts out of 5, just like having 2 slices of a pizza that is cut into 5 equal pieces. Next, we have improper fractions. In an improper fraction, the numerator is greater than or equal to the denominator. For example, 7/4 is an improper fraction. This means you have 7 parts out of a total of 4 parts. It represents 7 parts out of 4, which can be visualized as having more slices than a single pizza can hold. Then, we have mixed fractions. A mixed fraction combines a whole number and a proper fraction. For example, 1 1/2 is a mixed fraction. This means you have 1 whole part and 1/2 of another part. It represents 1 whole and 1/2 of another whole, just like having 1 whole pizza slice and a half slice. Next, we have like fractions. Like fractions have the same denominator, meaning they are parts of the same whole. For example, 1/4 and 3/4 are like fractions. This means they are parts of the same whole, divided into 4 equal parts. They both have a denominator of 4, indicating that the whole is divided into 4 equal parts. Unlike fractions, on the other hand, have different denominators. This means they are parts of different wholes. For example, 1/2 and 2/3 are unlike fractions. This means they are parts of different wholes, divided into different numbers of parts. Lastly, we have equivalent fractions. Equivalent fractions may look different, but they represent the same value. For example, 1/2 and 2/4 are equivalent fractions. This means they represent the same part of a whole, even though they look different. They both represent half of a whole, just like having 1/2 of a pizza or 2/4 of a pizza. Understanding these different types of fractions is essential for mastering more complex mathematical concepts. Each type of fraction has its own unique characteristics and uses, making them valuable tools in various mathematical applications. Whether you're dividing a pizza among friends or solving a math problem, knowing how to work with different types of fractions will help you make sense of the world around you. So next time you see a pizza, remember it's not just a delicious meal, but also a great way to visualize and understand fractions. Unit fractions are special fractions. They have a numerator of 1. Think of them as the smallest slices of our fraction pizza. Examples of unit fractions are 1/2, 1/4, and 1/8. Unit fractions are important because they help us understand how fractions are built. For example, if we have the fraction 3/4, we know it's made up of 3 1/4 pieces. Unit fractions are the foundation of all other fractions. Section 5. Fractions on a number line, visualizing the values. We can visualize fractions on a number line. It's like a ruler, but instead of centimeters or inches, we use fractions. To represent a fraction on a number line, we follow these steps. First, draw a line and mark 0 and 1 at the ends. Next, divide the line into equal parts according to the denominator of the fraction. For example, if the denominator is 4, divide the line into 4 equal parts. Then, starting from 0, count the number of parts indicated by the numerator and mark that point on the line. Section 6. Simplifying fractions, making them easier. Sometimes fractions can be simplified. This means we can make them easier to work with by reducing them to their simplest form. Simplifying fractions is a fundamental skill in mathematics that helps in making calculations more straightforward and results more understandable. It's like finding a neater way to write the same thing. Just as organizing clutter makes a room look cleaner and more efficient, simplifying fractions makes them easier to read and use in further calculations. To simplify a fraction, we find the greatest common factor, or GCF, of both the numerator and the denominator. The GCF is the largest number that can divide both the numerator and the denominator without leaving a remainder. The GCF is the largest number that divides evenly into both numbers. Finding the GCF is a crucial step because it ensures that the fraction is reduced to its simplest form, making it easier to understand and work with. For example, let's simplify the fraction 4/6. This fraction can be reduced by finding the GCF of the numerator, which is 4, and the denominator, which is 6. The GCF of 4 and 6 is 2. This means that 2 is the largest number that can divide both 4 and 6 without leaving a remainder. We divide both the numerator and denominator by 2. 4 divided by 2 equals 2, and 6 divided by 2 equals 3. This division process reduces the fraction to its simplest form, so 4/6 simplifies to 2/3. This means that the fraction 4/6 and the fraction 2/3 represent the same value, but 2/3 is in its simplest form. Both fractions represent the same value, but 2/3 is simpler. Simplifying fractions is a valuable skill that makes working with numbers more efficient and helps in understanding mathematical concepts more clearly. Section 7. Operations with fractions. Addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Just like whole numbers, we can add, subtract, multiply, and divide fractions. Asterisk addition and subtraction. To add or subtract fractions, they must have the same denominator. If they don't, we need to find a common denominator. Once the fractions have the same denominator, we simply add or subtract the numerators. Asterisk multiplication. To multiply fractions, we multiply the numerators and the denominators. Asterisk division. To divide fractions, we flip the second fraction or find its reciprocal and then multiply. Section 8. Converting fractions to decimals, bridging the gap. Fractions and decimals are like two sides of the same coin. They are different ways of representing the same value. We can convert a fraction to a decimal by dividing the numerator by the denominator. For example, to convert the fraction 1/2 to a decimal, we divide 1 by 2, which equals 0.5. Section 9. Real-world applications of fractions. Fractions are everywhere. We use them when baking. Recipes often use fractions to measure ingredients accurately. Sharing fractions help us divide things equally, like sharing a pizza or a bag of candy. Time. We use fractions to talk about time, like a quarter past the hour or half past the hour. Understanding fractions helps us in many aspects of our daily lives.